We are thrilled to welcome Christie Jordan, intuitive healer, acupuncturist, teacher, speaker, and founder of Source Healing, a sanctuary for acupuncture and integrative medicine in Chicago and surrounding areas. Christie has spent the past 30 years guiding people back to their own inner wisdom through intuitive energy work and traditional Chinese medicine. And because Lunar New Year falls on February 17th this year, we couldn't imagine a better guest to help us understand the deeper meaning behind it and how to use this powerful year of the fire horse energy to realign, renew, and reignite our own lives. We'll talk about what this lunar year really symbolizes, the rituals and reflections that can help us set clear intentions, and how we can integrate Eastern traditions into our daily lives in a way that feels authentic and grounded. Get ready to feel inspired and maybe even a little fiery as we step into this new lunar cycle together. Hi, Christy. Hi, Karen.
Hi, Robin. Hi, Christy. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. So excited to be here.
Oh my goodness. And I can feel your fire, Christy. Let's start talking about what Lunar New Year means because there's a lot of people listening that don't actually understand.
Lunar is moon. So way back in the whole Eastern culture, China, Japan, Korea, Vietnam, just out in the East, before they were in tune with the Gregorian or the solar calendar, which is what the West is used to. January starts New Year, right? January 1st. In the East, day one of any month is the new moon in a lunar calendar. And that makes a ton of sense. So they're not following an actual paper calendar and a paper schedule. The minute they see the new moon, it is the first day of the new month. So in the lunar calendar, the actual month that the winter solstice is actually month 11. January would be month 12. So
That's right.
January would be month 12 in the lunar calendar. And then February, it generally lands in February or late January, would be the actual first month after the 12th month of the lunar calendar. And the reason why they do this is you notice that there is a link between the actual winter solstice, which is where the darkest, the deepest time that the seed is in the earth. It is the shortest day of the year. Everything is frozen if you're in the northern hemisphere. And when the actual Lunar New Year happens, the Far East is not just celebrating, oh, it's the first day of the new year. Let's put out the lanterns and the Dragon Festival. It goes beyond that. Back in the agrarian societies, it is a collective recognition of chi and movement down in the earth. So what we can't see on top of the earth, down deep in the earth, movement, the bulbs are starting to sprout. There is movement beyond what we can see and hear. And culturally, they had an understanding that there was absolutely something happening. And so the celebration was tied to hope. And it wasn't just the word renewal, it was actual renewal. It was a celebration of new crops that were waiting to grow. So Lunar New Year is actually called a celebration of spring. It's a spring festival. And why would it be spring in the winter in February? Because movement is happening. So you remember, they were tied to this idea of chi and energy. And things don't have to be out in the open for us to at least acknowledge that there is movement happening. And that comes within us too. It's the ultimate collective recognition of awakening and hope.
What a great way to start the year.
So now let's talk about what the energy of this year, which is the fire horse. What does that mean? How do we use that? What does the energy feel like?
So I'm going to put my own spin on this because what I bring to the table is 30 years of being within people's energy fields in their bodies, knowing what my body is moving through, working with really high functioning adults and young adults too. What we're seeing, the horse is about movement and freedom and courage and speed and charisma. And then the element of fire, of five elements in the East, is about ignition and visibility and passion, leadership, volatility, and transformation. So those two together, just think about this huge life force happening. And when I think of that fire horse, personally for me, there's a part of me that goes, oh no, I am so burned out. Are we not all burned out? All I'm seeing is burnout on my table, all right, and my treatment rooms. We are highly functional adults feeling a collective burnout happening. And then here's this big energy coming in. If it's not managed, if it's not nourished and anchored with the yin, there's too much yang and fire. We're going to burn out even more. And so that's where I want you all to lean into, because there's this feeling that we have to do more and take the bull by the horns and take more action and don't miss this opportunity because the universe is throwing us all this stuff. And I'm sitting there going, holy smokes, can I take in any more than I'm doing as a practitioner, as a business owner, as a mother, as a dog owner, as a wife, as a daughter, as a sister? Can I take in any more as a community member? Can I do any more than I'm doing? So the shadow side of this, the downside of this is absolute burnout. Fire can rage through the forests. Fire can burn down a house. And so it's something that can't be contained if you're not being mindful of it.
Wow. Yes, I am so glad that you are putting that in such visual terms for people.
We were just talking even before we started recording about how everybody we're talking to is feeling this sense of exhaustion. And I have to say, like, this idea of a horse speeding off into the distance sounds really great, but I envision myself like it's a runaway horse, like I'm holding on for dear life. And so I think that's in the collective. So I really appreciate you walking us through how that can energetically not feel so good, even though the vision of it might feel good. How do you balance that?
I'm telling you, we can still partake in the energy of the fire horse. In fact, it's happening whether we like it or not. We cannot control this thing that's happening called big life force. We're all in it, and we'll all experience it in our own ways because we're all on our individual paths. And so for some, it might be more visible. For others, it's a deeply internal transformation that can then later on in years turn into a physical thing. So don't try too much to control it. And we'll go into some action steps that you guys can take. There, everyone's like saying, bold action, breakthrough, all this other stuff. And I'm like, oh man, the shadow again, not only the burnout, but think about scorched earth and impulsivity because you're just so in your nervous system is so on fire. Actively, we are.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
So this is the stuff when people are talking about the fire horse, no one is talking about it. I'm going to talk about it because I'm seeing it on my table and I'm feeling it. And I was walking with my friend the other day and I just heard two ladies walking by and the woman said out loud and I heard her and I'm like, here it is, Chuck. She goes, I am so exhausted. And I said, that is the theme of the day. There is collective energy that is colossally exhausting. We are individually being triggered like no one's business because this last year of the snake has been shedding and we are being triggered like no one's business right now. And we think that's done. It's not done. And so I want you guys to look at triggers that you have and not see triggers as bad. When someone goes, I'm triggered and they're responsive to triggers, I'm like, awesome. Triggers are just energy that's coming to the surface for you to clear, for you to say goodbye to. And if you can see it as that, you can nourish yourself through the triggers, that those triggers don't exist except in memory in your cells. If you didn't have that as energy in your cells, they wouldn't come up. But when these are coming up, you're making more space for nourishment, for more compassion, for more light. And that's where we're moving towards, you guys. And when you can make more room, that's when you're more capable of stepping into this fire horse energy. If you're stepping into this fire horse energy and you are not releasing these triggers, holy smokes, talk about scorched earth because then you're reactive and you're impulsive and you're trauma throwing. And I've done my fair share of that. Believe me, ask my husband. We all do this human thing. All right. And we just have to have compassion for ourselves while we're doing this. We have to have a level of awareness. And so hold your horses. Just
Literally. Yes.
That's awesome.
speaking to you, ladies.
Very much, because I think the only way out is through, which we've talked about before on this podcast. And when you talk about those triggers coming up and that level of exhaustion with them, we're all doing it, right? And rather than push them back down, actually addressing them and then being able to then harness this energy of the fire horse with our dreams and intentions and everything, whatever it is that is driving us within, then we can actually use it positively.
I think that's probably what I and many listeners would want to know, because clearly we all feel that. And you're saying like trying not to control too much, which is totally understandable too. So, what's the balance that we can make as we are feeling this energy and wanting to reground ourselves so that we're not taken away by the runaway horse?
The whole idea of the runaway horse that is on fire, that's going to take you to where your heart. So you remember the fire in Chinese medicine in the physical body is connected to the heart energy center. And we are having so many heart activations right now where we're coming more in online and in tune with what our heart's desires are. And we're meant to move forward with our heart's desires. And the fire horse is there to take us there. And the thing is, you don't have to force it and you don't have to force yourself to ride on it. It's happening. There's so many ways to move into balance. So the fire horse in Chinese medicine is all about the yang, the yin and yang.
A lot of people don't know. Can you?
Yin and yang symbol and all those Tai Chi centers and all those acupuncture centers and the Qigong centers. The Taoist symbol of yin and yang represents the entire cosmos in that circle. One black, one white. One is the masculine, one's the feminine. One is the action and one is the receiving. One is the fire and one is the water. And it just goes on and on. It represents the duality that makes up the whole. That is the entire cosmos. That is the oneness. That is the universe. It is whatever you want to call it. That is the oneness. And so the Taoists, which Chinese medicine is based on, and the way we see our bodies, if you can see it, because we are in a dualistic universe, right? Of free will and choice. And not as bad and not as wrong, but as something to consistently balance out. There's no perfect balanced state. I wish there was. So when the yang and the fire is on, the yin is diminished, right? So in that circle, the yin and then the whole yang gets even bigger in that circle. And when the yang gets bigger, the fire is too much. The masculine energy, the making things happen is too much. And the yin, which is the powerful creator, the yin that is the divine feminine, that is the receiver, that creates through allowing and being, which is what we're all moving into. And that is what we women have a hard time moving into in modern day society, by the way. I have a feeling that the listeners here, we know how to move into action and dynamic action and making things happen. We do not have an issue with yang and creation. Our issue is the receiving. And so when we see this yang, we know how to jump in and make things happen and all this other stuff. That is not our issue. Our issue is grounding down and rooting more firmly into our water, receiving yin, nourishment, calm. And so if you're not doing that, you will have a runaway fire and it will scorch everything. So I'm going to tell you from a Chinese medicine perspective, the more you regularly mind what it is that on a daily basis nourishes you. Let me give you an example of what I just noticed. My husband and I, we love to watch, like in the evenings, what we'll do is we'll get off work and we'll watch something together on TV. And sometimes it just gets repetitive where I'm like, this isn't what I want to do. I just want to spend time to myself in my room and just, and so just recently I'm like, do you mind if I just go upstairs and just fill myself up? And he's okay with it. And I just had to create and carve that space out because I have to nourish and fill myself up and fill in my water and move into my own creative, non-formed space with no external stimulation. I'm not tuning into anyone else's energy field and nothing outside of me. That is me nourishing my yin. So in Chinese medicine, if your yin isn't anchored in the earth, your yang just goes to fire and you can have all these symptoms. And a lot of symptoms that I'm seeing right now collectively, I've seen in the last 5 years more dizziness, vertigo, ringing in their ears, migraines, headaches than ever in the last 30 years, like collectively, because it's just all this yang is rising, like fire rises and heat rises. And for us to ground with more water, ground with more nourishment, ground with more rituals. And rituals for me is just staying in that space of non-structure. in the fluidity and the flow and opening up. And I even have a block of time that says creative open flow space. And it feels like non-productive time. What? You know,
Right.
feeling young, that is like not okay because I have from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. I'm scheduled out. And so when I actually create a block of non-productive time, I've had to train myself that is productive to my yin.
Yeah, I think people need to give themselves permission for
True.
that because that's actually what I would like people to understand. It is medicine for your soul.
Truth. And it's strategy. Okay, I want you to see non-productive time that you actually schedule out for yourself. It's
Absolutely.
strategy for you to be able to receive this massive flow that's coming in, this big energy, because you're anchored in your yin. You need the water to tame the fire. Otherwise, it's a runaway fire. And what that does is it regulates your nervous system. It's what you do in yoga. It's what you do in breath work. It's what you do in meditation. It's what you do in that non-structured time. You're regulating your own nervous system so that you're not impulsive. It's easier to be impulsive in the fire horse year. So regulate your nervous system before you act.
Oh, that's such good advice. Because I think so often we are so caught up, even without the horse energy around us. So many of us are in that frequency, in that energy, where we're not giving ourselves that time to reground, to take that breath, to just remember that we have to take these moments, as you're saying, to re-regulate ourselves. So that's such a good point that you could easily be swept up in quick decisions or losing your temper or any of those kind of immediate reactions to things in this energy if you don't take that time to reground.
Truth. And so remember collectively, I'm talking to high functioning people who are wired this way by culturally, by society, by our schools, by you name it, of what it is that we have to do to be successful, to have worth, to whatever the stories are. We are in the midst of rewiring that. How do we be productive? What is it to have worth and be productive? And so there's momentum coming in and we can feel it. And again, I'm sitting there going, holy camole, I don't know. And so if this momentum comes and I'm scattered, and it's easy to be scattered because there's so many things, we're playing so many roles, we wear so many hats, it becomes the chaos of a runaway fire. So don't let this momentum become so scattered that it becomes chaos.
What do you recommend in terms of that nourishing? You gave a couple examples of yourself. What are you telling your clients?
It can be different for everyone, but I'm going to tell you here's some universals. And you might even roll your eyes, but perhaps the answers are already right underneath your nose. Perhaps it's the universe telling you it's already within you. You have access to it. Perhaps it's not having to climb on a mountaintop to get these answers and to get what you need. The number one thing I'm going to say is access nature in any way you possibly can, because nature doesn't care that your nervous system is dysregulated. It'll just absorb you into its regulation. It is a bigger energy than your dysregulated nervous system. The tree, I can stare at a tree all day long, and that somehow just does something to me. And it just tells me the tree's like, I'm not going to even tune into your dysregulation. And you can either vibe with me or not. I'm like, I'm vibing with you. I'm vibing with you. And thank you so much. And then when you're amongst many trees and the mountain and any water, and even when I lived in the city, that one tree sitting outside, living in the urban jungle, filled me up so much. I'm going to say daily movement of some sort. I'm going to say also the intense movement, especially as we women get older, the intense movement that we thought we had to do when we were younger, it burns out our yin. I'm just telling you something. We need more of our yin. And what is estrogen? It's yin. You don't want to burn out more of that as we move into perimenopause and menopause. So, whatever it is to be gentle and not burn out our water, burn out our yin, burn out our estrogen. Daily movement, hydration. Let's keep it simple. This is right underneath your nose. You don't have to drink 8 glasses a day. What robot? We're not robots, all right? Like we are human beings. We are not AI. We are not robots. Listen to your bodies. Some sort of consistent sleep rhythm is really important. If you're not sleeping well, get help. Some
Mhm.
valerian tea. Do something that feels good in your body. Something's different for everyone. Regulate your sleep, protect it. Also, and this is another collective thing I'm seeing in the last 5 years, and I'm loving what I see. People are really turning online. If you notice that all of a sudden you don't want as much alcohol, have you noticed that, ladies?
Absolutely.
Up leveling. If you notice that you want certain kinds of foods, if you notice, like I never thought I'd give up sugar. I'm like, you know what? I've been a vegan for 26 years and blah, 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 blah. I'm not giving up sugar. Guess what? In menopause, I gave up sugar, not because I have some incredible discipline. That's not me. It's because my body was asking for it. It's going through some changes. And I'm like, the things I said I'd never give up, I'm like, whoa, I cannot believe it. So when you're listening to your body and what it wants and needs, there's no right and wrong, and there's no one thing for everyone. I just want to
Yeah,
let you
I think that's really true.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying is you guys know there is no hierarchy of what the best way to eat is. It will keep shifting and changing for you. And so do not feel badly. Like you want to take small steps where you're really honoring this one vehicle you get to drive in this lifetime. When I say you, I'm saying your consciousness, your spirit gets to drive this one vehicle that you don't get to trade in. Listen to
It's
it.
so true.
Because every symptom that you have is a dashboard light of this car that you get to drive. So rather than seeing symptoms as something bad, oh my gosh, I rarely get a headache, but when I do, I'm like, what's my car telling me? And sometimes I just don't know, but I'm like, okay, I'm going to nourish myself. I might be stressed about something I'm not even conscious about. I'm going to get a treatment. I'm going to sleep early today. I'm going to be kind to myself. I'm going to drop whatever is really on my mind. Listen to your body. So most of the steps, it's about listening to your body. Because if you're not listening to the one thing that only you get to drive, no one is.
And I would say too, and what you're saying and listening to your body, let's say you are someone who is just so bone tired and your body is saying, I really feel like I can't walk around the block. Like I'm just too tired. That's probably where you should go find a practitioner or somebody to find out like what's going on. It becomes almost like also a symbol for what do you need to work on? Where are you deficient or whatever it is?
Truth. So you don't bypass your doctors. And know that the whole gray area of medicine is holistic medicine. I think in the future, medicine will be the blend of both, the best of Eastern, Western, holistic, all the somatic gray area, because well-being and the body is not black and white. And
Mm.
you know, the tools in between the edges are where you have some agency to do something for yourself. And we all right now need help and tools. I know I do all the time. Sometimes I forget I can do this too, right? We have access to so many things, and it doesn't have to be acupuncture and herbs. It can be something that you can do for yourself.
Mm.
And this is why is all this like year of the horse, fire horse happening? Because it's meant to up level all of us in our own ways.
It's so funny as you're talking, I'm picturing the horse and how they're so really at ease most of the time. They are very grounded, they are very peaceful. We all know that they're very wise. So it's like a wonderful symbol for us to connect with, even as we're thinking about the fire horse in their essence. They are really majestic, gentle,
Mm.
peaceful symbols of this sort of regal giant
And with power,
and
right?
power. And so that when they take off onto that run, it is that symbol of power, but they're fueled, they're grounded and centered to be able to do that. So
Yeah.
for me, it's just like a wonderful way of remembering that is the reason for the grounding. So that to your point, we can be in that place where we can up level and we can take off toward those dreams and all the things that we want to manifest this year.
And I want to come back to what you also said with the fire and the fact that it has to do with your heart,
Yeah.
right? Like I love that too, because I don't think that we're talking about that when people are talking about the year of the fire horse. We're not hearing very much in terms of how that fire actually symbolizes that heart center within yourself and then to then apply it to that horse and that power and that groundedness, but understanding what is in our heart.
Yes. And so the way in Chinese medicine, they see the heart, and it's the element of fire, and the emotion associated with the fire and the heart is joy.
Oh,
So I
wow.
so it's about following your joy. And so we've been taught not to follow our joy. And it's breaking out into what brings you joy. And so it's important. And like for me, it brings me absolute joy to harness my 30 years of experience one-on-one in the treatment room and really bring it to a wider audience through speaking and podcasts. And it's not something that I really plan to do, but I'm like, yeah, it brings me joy because why should it just be one-on-one now? And this is me following my fire horse because I'm very much of an introvert and I do like my downtime. I do like to be just in my own space. And that's me following my joy. Like it brings me so much joy to talk to you ladies, spirits, who so understand this energy with a level of authenticity. And I feel like a lot of the people watching this do as well.
Agreed. They're seeking with us to live in that joy and also be connected and be of service with one another. And so I feel like what we get to do, and even in this conversation, is allow people to recognize where they're coming from, addressing it, and then getting into that fire, that heart center, so that it can take off very majestically and powerfully, but with that balance. I think that what you talked about in the beginning of this conversation is finding that because we're so out of balance.
So that's a progress and that's a process. And the way I want you to see the balance, especially with fire, is a fire can be contained in a hearth. Yes. And so anything you do for yourself is part of the hearth. So let's listening to your body and eating really grounding and nourishing foods and listening to where your body wants to go with that. I'll tell you something like I've been eating these giant bags of raw cashews for the last 3, 4 months, and that might seem out of balance, but it's what my body is asking. And I keep going, okay, is this too much? I just went through another giant bag. And so I'm going to just keep listening until my body says, okay, I'm done. Okay. And remember this, the fire, that you don't have to imagine it just burning out of control. I want you to see it as the fire is really about becoming more alive and burning really bright. So I want you to see it as that. And if you have the hearth, if you are nourishing and grounded in your yin, so the fire doesn't go out of control and you're burning bridges and scorching earth and reactive and burned out, you're becoming more alive. And the heart center is the very portal. It's the doorway between your physicality, your physical body, and your spirit.
Oh, that is such a great reminder, Christy. And it's funny, I'm listening to some of our Seeking Center advice, Robin, that I'm doing my thing every day. And it says, whenever you're feeling really stressed, the best thing to do is simply just put your hand on your heart. And it does, the whole act of just doing that calms you immediately. And I love that additional reminder of get out of your head and just come right here. And it's just the easiest, simplest place to start. So thank you for that reminder. I needed to hear that.
That it's definitely a self-regulator, right? You talked about the nervous system, but putting your hand in your heart helps to regulate just by touching that center.
Exactly.
I do that regularly. If I feel that I have to speak the truth or anything that puts me into fight or flight.
Yes.
It immediately does get you out of your head. And it's something that everyone has access to.
Exactly. I have a question in terms of people listening right now. This is the beginning of this new Lunar New Year. I know you brought up looking at your triggers. Is there anything else you'd recommend somebody take stock in right now as we begin and move through and utilize this energy?
Looking at your triggers and not judging them and not blaming what triggered you, but looking at what you're releasing is very important and saying, and I just say goodbye to it with gratitude. Also, as we enter February 17th, every time I enter a date, there's a part of my mind that goes, oh my gosh, it's the start of the new year, like January 1st. And then I calm myself down and I say, it's not a date on a calendar, it's a movement process. So we don't have to get ready for February 17th. We are already moving into it. Just like when the tulip sprouts through the earth, it's been happening. Earth, it's already been moving. Picking one thing, it's about being bold. Don't pick 10 things just because you're overachievers and just because you're highly capable and just because, you're type A. Don't pick 10 things. Pick one thing, maybe two things, and create the movement into it and see it over time.
Christie, one thing that's happened to me that surprised me very early into the year is feeling the intensity of the energy differently. I have found that it's been heightened more than ever. So typically, we all go through stress, and I feel like I can balance it pretty well. But lately, I've just felt it like almost like a pang. It's definitely much more palpable than it's ever been before. I don't know if you've heard that from other people, but it was one of those things like, that's strange. The normal things haven't worked quite as well and readily. Is that because of the intensity of the energy?
It's a lot of different things going on. And so the first thing I'm always aware of is you may or may not be aware that we are having humongous solar flares, and the Schumann resonance, which is the heartbeat of the earth, has been off the charts, and it's even more intensified. It's like a heavy coming into our bodies. It's like a frequency that says, oh, business, and whatever you're holding on to that's dense, that's old, that's not in alignment to this next phase of who you are. Oh, it's moving out. And we mean business. And it has been across the board. Everyone's feeling it, and especially if you're energetically sensitive, you're feeling it hardcore. So universally, the frequencies are there, but it's also helping us move into greater light. Because when you move these densities out, more light frequency can enter, and you're making more of these inner pivoting shifts for yourself. It's easier to make those shifts so that you're better prepared to move into this greater energy that's coming in, this big universal energy that's coming in. And the thing is, I want you to see yourself as like a grounded bamboo stalk with a lot of water feeding it. And as it grows and grows strong, it can move around things it can be flexible and move around things to grow towards the light. It's not this leaf just flying around willy-nilly in the wind and just landing anywhere. You're grounded and you're supported and you're nourished and you're flexible. So there is pressure coming in because the time is now, ladies. The time is now for us to say yes and to let go of everything we knew, how we knew to do it, that isn't working for us anymore. And it feels weird and empty. Like I'm sitting there, what do I do? Ooh, it doesn't make sense. And what I was doing before doesn't work. And I just let go. I just move into a level of surrender and deep inner nourishment. And that to me, moment by moment, right now is working, and it'll shift if it shifts. So what you're feeling, girl, I'm feeling. Everyone who is sensitive to it is feeling, and it is intense. It is no joke.
Just the affirmation.
Guys, I'm sorry, it's hard.
But as Karen just said, that validation, because I think we're all feeling that. And I think that is what you can sense on so many different levels, that this is the energy of this year. And there's transformational energy here. How do we want to use this personally? Collectively, we're going to be in a really different place when we talk again next Lunar New Year. Like, we can all feel that.
Agreed. And fire is one of the most transformative signs. So with all the triggers and with all our illusions and with all our traumas that we've harbored in our bodies, not just in this lifetime, but lifetimes past from our own childhoods, we are meant to transform it. And the fire is here to help us.
And we get to talk about this now and reach more people than we ever have before, right? Because of where we are in our society with technology and so forth. This is a positive way of harnessing energy so that we can actually use it in a very productive way in our own evolution as a soul.
So true. And I feel that they say technology it's like the Aquarius water energy. And so we're just flowing with it, ladies.
That's right.
And for where we're at right now, I'm so grateful. Even though it's pushing us and it's pushing us hard, I choose to move into the gratitude of just how far I've come and how far everyone has come, because where we are today, think about how shifted we are in our consciousness and in our bodies than even Lunar New Year last year. It was hard work. I've had dark moments where I had to really look at myself and what I'm doing and why I'm doing everything. And I'm not the only one. It doesn't mean life is bad. It means we're doing our work.
That's right. And we found each other. That to me is look where we are. We're finding one another so that we can move together and continue to evolve together. That to me is the gift in where we are and where we're going. And so, Christie, thank you so much for shedding light in a way that we all need to have right now as we move with this new energy. And I know Karen and I are very excited to have more conversations with you about Chinese medicine and how to utilize that in our daily lives, because we haven't explored that.
We can go down that rabbit hole.
So we'll be doing that.
Everyone can apply to themselves and in a way that people can use information to really create inner changes for inner transformation.
Those conversations are going to be coming soon.
Love to dig into that for sure.
I look forward to it. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad I've met you both. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Christie. And if you're interested in connecting with Christie, exploring more of her work at Source Healing, visit sourcehealing.com. Thank you.